Single dad walked in on his CEO boss crying. Her quiet request shocked him. I never thought I'd find myself frozen in that doorway, watching my always composed CEO with tears streaming down her face. The woman who fired people without blinking, who stared down board members like they were children, was sobbing into her hands. What happened next changed both our lives forever. If you've ever misjudged someone, or been misjudged yourself, you'll understand why I couldn't keep this story to myself. My name is Daniel Carter. 3 years ago, my wife Lisa died suddenly, leaving me to raise our 8-year-old daughter Zoe alone. The grief nearly broke us both. I was an IT specialist at Meridian Technologies, a mid-sized software company in Boston. The hours were decent, the pay was enough, and most importantly, I could be home for Zoe most evenings. My boss, Victoria Winters, was the youngest CEO in the company's history, brilliant, intimidating, and notoriously demanding. The office nicknamed her the Ice Queen. She wore tailored suits that probably cost more than my monthly salary and had a reputation for being ruthlessly efficient. Not cruel, exactly, but completely detached. The kind of boss who remembered your quarterly performance metrics but never your kid's name. That Thursday had been particularly rough. Zoe had a meltdown before school about a science project, my babysitter cancelled last minute for the evening, and I was now facing the possibility of missing the deadline for a critical system upgrade. At 7:30 p.m., I was still at my desk, frantically trying to finish so I could pick up Zoe from the emergency after-school program before they closed at 9. I needed approval on a server access override, which meant tracking down Victoria, who I knew was working late. Her office door was slightly ajar. I knocked gently but heard no response. After a moment's hesitation, I pushed the door open. Victoria sat at her desk, face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Papers were scattered around her, and a framed photo lay face down on the desk. I'd never seen her anything less than perfectly composed. "Ms. Winters? I'm sorry, I can come back." She jerked upright, hastily wiping her eyes. "Carter. What do you need?" Her voice cracked slightly despite her obvious attempt at normalcy. "Just an access override signature, but it's not urgent," I said, already backing toward the door. "Wait." The word stopped me cold. "Please close the door." I did, expecting to be reprimanded for the intrusion. Instead, she gestured to the chair across from her desk. "How old is your daughter now?" she asked unexpectedly. I blinked, surprised she even knew I had a child. 11. Her name is Zoe. Victoria nodded, picked up the overturned frame, and turned it toward me. It showed a young girl, maybe 14, with Victoria's same piercing blue eyes. My daughter, Lily. Today would have been her 16th birthday. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. In 3 years of working at Meridian, no one had ever mentioned Victoria having a child. "I'm so sorry," I said, the words feeling woefully inadequate. "Cancer. 2 years ago." She spoke with clinical detachment, but her red-rimmed eyes betrayed her. "I usually take this day off, but we had the investor meeting and I couldn't." She stopped abruptly, seeming surprised by her own candor. We sat in silence for a moment before she straightened her posture and said something I never expected. "I need to ask you for a favor, Carter. A personal one." The request was simple yet profound. She wanted to know how I did it, how I kept going after losing someone so central to my world. Not as an employee speaking to his boss, but as one parent to another. "Sometimes I don't know if I am doing it," I admitted. "There are mornings I can barely get out of bed. But Zoe needs me, so I keep moving." For the next hour, we talked. Really talked. Victoria told me about Lily's diagnosis at 12, the 2-year battle that followed, and the emptiness since. I shared the story of Lisa's aneurysm, the shock of becoming a single parent overnight, and my constant fear of failing my daughter. As our conversation continued, Victoria's professional facade dissolved completely. She confessed that her notorious workaholism was just a way to avoid going home to an empty house. That her coldness was a shield because connecting with people, especially children or parents, was too painful. "I've been unfair to you," she said suddenly. "I've seen your requests for flexible scheduling. I assumed you were trying to take advantage, when really, I'm just trying to be there for my kid," I finished. She nodded, looking genuinely remorseful. "Consider those requests approved, retroactively and going forward." But what happened next truly shocked me. Victoria reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a business card. "This is the grief counselor who helped me after Lily died. I stopped going 6 months ago. I thought I was fixed. Obviously, I'm not." She pushed the card toward me. "Do you and Zoe have someone to talk to?" We didn't. Between medical bills from Lisa's brief hospitalization and the reduced income, therapy had seemed like a luxury we couldn't afford. "The company's insurance actually covers this, but it's not widely known," Victoria explained. "I'll make sure HR expedites your paperwork." As I left her office that night, something fundamental had changed. I saw her not as the Ice Queen but as a mother shattered by loss, trying to piece herself back together just like me. The following weeks brought more surprises. Victoria implemented a company-wide policy review focused on supporting employees with caregiving responsibilities. Flexible schedules, remote work options, and an emergency childcare program appeared with remarkable speed. My own situation improved dramatically. I could adjust my hours around Zoe's school schedule and work from home when she was sick. The grief counselor helped us both process emotions we'd been suppressing for years. But the most meaningful change was in Victoria herself. She didn't suddenly become warm and fuzzy, she was still demanding and direct. But there was a new dimension of humanity in her leadership. She started remembering employees' children's names and asking genuine questions about their lives. 2 months after our conversation, she invited Zoe and me to volunteer at a pediatric cancer fundraiser she organized in Lily's memory. Watching Victoria kneel to speak with the young patients, I barely recognized her as the same woman who had terrified the office. Afterward, she approached us, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "I have a proposal for you both," she said. "The foundation needs help planning family activities for the kids in treatment. I thought maybe Zoe might have some ideas about what they'd enjoy, and you could help with the logistics." Zoe, who had been shy around Victoria until then, immediately lit up with ideas. It was the first time I'd seen her genuinely excited about anything since losing her mother. That project became our Sunday tradition. Victoria would bring lunch to our apartment, and the 3 of us would plan events for the Children's Foundation. Zoe blossomed under Victoria's attentive interest, and I watched my boss gradually relearn how to connect with people outside of a professional context. 6 months after that fateful evening in her office, Victoria confided something as we watched Zoe demonstrate games for the next foundation event. "That night you found me crying, I was drafting my resignation letter." I looked at her in shock. "You were quitting?" She nodded. "I thought I couldn't do this anymore. The emptiness was too much. But seeing how you kept going for Zoe made me realize I could channel my grief into something meaningful." She paused. "Thank you for not just backing out of my office that night." "Thank you for asking for help," I replied. It made me realize I needed to do the same. A year has passed since then. Victoria is still demanding, still brilliant, but no one calls her the Ice Queen anymore. The company's new family-friendly policies have actually improved retention and productivity. The foundation has helped dozens of families dealing with childhood cancer. As for Zoe and me, we're doing better than I could have imagined. The grief doesn't disappear, Victoria and I both know it never will, but we've learned that sharing the burden makes it lighter. Sometimes the people who seem the least approachable are carrying the heaviest weights. Last week, Victoria promoted me to head a new initiative developing software for pediatric hospitals. When I asked why she chose me, she said simply, "Because you see people, not just problems to solve. I've learned that everyone is fighting battles we know nothing about. The tough boss, the difficult colleague, the stern teacher, behind their facades are stories we can't imagine. Compassion opens doors that judgment keeps locked. If this story resonated with you, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to our channel. Your support helps us share more stories of unexpected connections and the healing power of understanding. And if you've ever misjudged someone only to discover a deeper truth about their life, share your experience in the comments below. Sometimes the most meaningful relationships begin in the most unexpected moments of vulnerability. Remember, behind every composed exterior might be someone just trying to hold it together. A little kindness could be the lifeline they're silently hoping for.